protecting Main Street from Wall Street. It's time for Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
You have to have a plan where you know if the market's going to go up, what happens next. And you also have to have a plan where if it doesn't go the way you think, you know what you're going to do.
It's time to put you back in control of your money.
I'm not trying to predict the weather, which is kind of what we're talking about, right? It's predicting the stock market. I'm trying to build a better boat.
This is Money Unleashed with Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn.
Welcome to the Money Unleashed podcast, powered by the Hoffman Financial Group. I'm Eric Johnson. Joining me as always is Kyle Allyn. We're the vice presidents of Hoffman Financial Group. You can hear us each Saturday on 95.5 WSB and catch new episodes of the podcast each Friday. So make sure you're subscribed wherever you get your podcast. Let's jump into the show. Now we're going to talk about something that's top of everyone's mind, especially when you get a little bit closer to retirement, and that's major tax deadlines. Let's hop into this because there's a lot of things that people don't realize, especially when it comes to required minimum distribution. So for most people, when you're 73 and you're a little bit older, you have to worry about these distributions that you must take out of your 401ks and your IRAs. And what most people don't know is that in that first year you hit 73, you actually have until April of the next year in order to take those required minimum distributions out. However, every subsequent year afterwards, you have to take them out before December 31st. Right, so let's talk about some of these deadlines that people are up against when we get a little bit older.
That's right. So you've got to pay attention to taxes when you look at retirement. Often we have people coming in saying, I've had a great advisor. They're working with, a two-name big office firm, maybe with a G and an S, maybe with an M and an S, right? And They say they've been focusing on the investment structure, but they haven't focused on the planning structure. So, of course, the other side of the coin is going to be things like taxes. So there are a couple of deadlines that matter, right? So we've got their federal income tax returns are due on April 15th.
Everyone's favorite day.
Everyone's favorite day. The IRS actually begins accepting tax year returns for 2024 on January 27th. So we've already gotten into that place. If you can't make the deadline on April 15th, you can file Form 4868 by April 15th to receive an extension. And also, you have until April 15th to contribute up to $7,000 to your IRA. So there's all these little things inside of retirement planning, inside of taxes that you've got to pay attention to. And the one that I think is most important that I want to draw some attention into is the idea of Roth conversion. So just want to give you guys some thoughts here. If you've heard us talk about this before, this may be repetitive, but if you're new to this, if you've just gotten into retirement, I want to tell you about a little bit of a cheat code here. So there's something called a Roth conversion. This would be where you're converting funds from a traditional IRA to a Roth IRA after retirement.
Real quick, I want to just inject this in here. Why would somebody want to do a Roth conversion?
So specifically, the reason this makes sense is because you would expect to be in a higher tax bracket later in retirement, or you want to maximize your estate for your heirs. Your accounts also, in this case, would not be diversified from a tax treatment standpoint. So what we're saying here is, in the future, at some time, someone is going to pay either you or your family a lot in taxes. So you're making the decision early to convert that money from the tax deferred to the tax free. So to take it back pre-2019, as financial advisors, as financial fiduciaries, as retirement planners, what we were talking to clients about was something called a stretch IRA. And it was the idea that when you got into retirement, you took as little out of your IRA as possible for as long as possible.
Right.
So maybe 2 generations. Maybe you gave it to the kids and they did it, and then they gave it to the grandkids and they did it. Well, the government came along, it took a look at demographics, it took a look at money, and what it realized was the baby boomer generation did not inherit a lot of money, about $4 trillion. But the baby boomer generation will give a lot of money to the millennial generation and Generation X, which is about $60 trillion. So they came along and they said, okay, well, we're going to change this law. We're going to put something in place called the Secure Act. That act is going to change inheritance. And so when people that aren't your spouse inherit your IRA or 401k, they're put into a position where they have a 10% penalty if they don't take it out in 10 years. So over the last, 5-6 years, we've started working on Roth conversions with clients to help alleviate that pain. So it's very simple. In the future, there's a strong portion of your money that will be taxed at a really high rate, say 26, 28, 29%, maybe even in the 30s. And so you're making a choice to move your tax rate into a place of, say, 17, 18, 19% to maximize your money over time. You need to consider your kids. You need to consider your age as far as how much longevity you have in the family. And then you also need to consider how much of your money is in your retirement accounts. So for clients that don't have much in retirement accounts, you're in brokerage accounts predominantly, you can kind of ignore me. But I would say if you're someone who has a lot in IRAs or 401ks, or if you just have 1 or 2 kids, This is going to be huge. And the good news is, if you focus, if you pay attention, if you're, say, 60, you've got a good decade to fix this problem. And then you end up in a position where the family has maximized the money and the benefits are astronomical. I was showing somebody the other day, they may be in a position where when they get to their 80s, the only thing the government is taxing from an income standpoint is their Social Security. Not only that, they will be in a position when they give the money to their kids or grandkids, because it's in that Roth, they can wait until the last day. They could find someone like me. We could put it into good growth stocks, and they may be able to accrue millions of dollars that they never have to give Uncle Sam. So it's very important that you're working with somebody that not just understands markets, but also is building a plan and talking to you about things like taxes.
Yeah, since the Secure Act, it really has changed how we've taken bequeathed IRAs and helped make that income streams for people, because obviously tax-free money is going to be the most powerful money you're ever going to have because Uncle Sam can't have any of it, right? But when you look at this, what you really need to realize is, what are you leaving to your heirs? And obviously this does not apply if you're giving it to your spouse, but it's the children, right? And a lot of guys come in here and they're like, well, I don't understand that means anything to me. Okay, well, let's talk about it for a second. Let's say that you are leaving a very large IRA to your children. Let's say it's $1 million, right? And they're making, let's say, $150,000 a year. They're doing well. They're shoved off the dock. They're not on the payroll any longer. But now they've got to take an extra $100,000 a year out just to satisfy the rules of the Secure Act, and that might bump them up into a different tax bracket, right? So they're going to be paying the taxes for you, and I don't know a whole lot of parents that want their kids to be paying their tax burdens for them. Now, the good news is if you do convert over to a Roth, yes, you have to take it out in 10 years. However, like you just said, you can run up to the very last day, take it all out, and then there's no taxes. So if you start attacking that problem early in retirement, then oftentimes you can have a majority of that IRA moved over to a Roth, and you might still have some in there, but it's not going to be a big ouchie, if you will, every April when you have to pay those taxes, because I don't know anybody that likes taking the RMDs out. No one's like, hooray, I have to take out my maximum amount of money. And another thing is, when you're planning for these RMDs, and let's put the Roth discussion off to the side for a second, you want to make sure that when you're setting up your income plan, you are accessing this money on a monthly basis, right? So for instance, when we set up an income plan for our folks, we make sure that we are shooting IRA money over to every single month, which we like Fidelity. That's our favorite custodian. We'll have Fidelity actually send the tax bit up to the Fed for you. So what happens is by the end of the year, when they're going to make you take money out, you've already accrued by taking out monthly what your RMDs are going to be. And then you don't have to worry so much when tax time comes.
Absolutely. And so by maximizing your taxes, you're putting yourself into a powerful position as far as your performance of your accounts. So do not forget, taxes are one of the most key pieces of the puzzle. I'm glad that you made an 8% return or a 12% return or a 16% return. But if you're making a massive return and you've got to give it back to Uncle Sam, well, you made a mistake. So working with financial fiduciaries and retirement teams that have the ability to build these plans is going to be monumental. And maybe you've had an advisor for many, many years. Maybe you've had a team that's helped you navigate the markets. But have you built a tax plan? Have you worked on a retirement income plan to be able to make sure that you can sleep soundly in retirement without worrying about Uncle Sam at the door? Because there is nothing worse than sitting there at night and being wide awake thinking, oh no, oh no, oh no. And so that's what we do. The Hoffman Financial Group is focused on giving calm, clear, concise information. That way you can move on retirement and you don't have to think about this. One of the best parts about my day is I get to work with clients who come in early on and they're worried, they're nervous, and they are crunching numbers constantly. They're looking at the market, they're in the Excel sheets, and they're wore out. And whether it's the first year or just a few years later, I love the moment where they come into my office and I see the shoulders relax and they go, you know, I don't look at it so much anymore.
Yeah, the 800-pound gorilla gets off their back and runs out the door. It's always fun when you get to see that. But yeah, you do have to pay attention to the taxes. I mean, it is a big deal. And let's be honest, a couple segments ago, we were talking about having fun in retirement. You don't work your tail off 20, 30, 40 years to be worrying about the dang IRS every year, right? So you need to create a plan to pay your partner off, and that's your partner, right? And still enjoy your money at the same time. And that's exactly what we do for people when they come in. You need this type of planning, guys. Give us a call. We're happy to help you with it. 404-640-5511. That's 404-640-5511. Or you can find us online at unleashyourmoney.com. And it's not just about creating the Roth accounts for yourself. It's how they're allocated, right, Kyle?
That's right. So one of the most confusing things that I can see on people's face is when I start talking about Roth conversions from a standpoint of what to put in them, right? So you've spent most of your life listening to somebody, or it's almost like a muscle memories inside the accounts that your taxable account should be your cash account, your retirement account should be your market account. Well, when we start doing Roth conversions, you've added that third leg, so you've added that tax-free account. And so the first thing I'll say is when it comes to should you buy Apple, I would say yes. How much? Well, we can help you figure that out. But then there's also where do you put it? So do you put your stocks in your taxable account, your tax-deferred account, or in your tax-free account? So one of the things you've got to make sure that you're doing when you're doing Roth conversions is you're keeping those Roth accounts, those tax-free accruals at the highest level possible. So when it comes to growing your money, if you have Roth accounts, that needs to be the most high speed. That needs to be your Ferrari. That needs to be your Apple, your Amazon, your Google, your Netflix, your NVIDIA, because those things are growing without consequence to the government. They're growing tax-free, and so they need to move fast. This is a little tricky for most because when you're going through your life, you're saving up your cash out in your taxable account, and you're putting these things into your IRAs, your 401ks, your TSPs. When you get into this phase of life, you're starting to build something that is thinking about 10 years, 15 years down the road from an income distribution, and you want to make sure that, once again, the Roth account goes the fastest. These are your high equity, your high speed, whatever it is. So for some people, it might be just your S&P 500, but it needs to be your most aggressive account. Then you move into your taxable account. Normally, people like to keep cash here. I would argue you need to rethink that because you have a stepped up cost basis. So you have the ability to put stocks in there, grow them over time, and then get the stepped up cost basis. And then I actually would say that for most people, and there are always exceptions to the rule, but for most people, the income generated in your retirement accounts should be the income you're paying yourself. So once again, this can be complicated. I understand it's long-winded, but it is incredibly important that you focus on tax structures and distribution design inside of your retirement plan when it comes to your money, because it's not just the market. It's also how you pay yourself and from what account that will lead to large levels of success.
Right. And whether it's Roth creation, how to spend your money, we've talked about all this stuff today. And ultimately what it comes down to is you need to have a proper plan put in place to do that. And here at Hoffman Financial Group, we want to make sure that our listeners get an opportunity to have this type of financial planning put in place for them. So what we do is we actually design plans specifically for you, a la carte, at no cost and no obligation to become a client. And Kyle, tell me a little bit about what this plan includes.
Yeah, so we're going to start out with your life first. Instead of telling you what to do, we want to listen. We want to understand, okay, how many kids do you have? When do you want to retire? What does longevity look like in your family? Do you have medical coverage? Do you have Social Security coming in? Do you have a pension? Do you have real estate? We're going to focus on your life and what makes you unique as a retiree. Then we're going to take it into income. We're going to make sure that you have the income distributions, as you say, and as Chris says, to be an income wizard. Then we're going to go into protection. We're going to make sure we design a portfolio that when the worst comes, whatever it is, you're in a position where you're not freaking out and being scared out of the market. As Peter Lynch said in the 80s, to be successful in stocks is to not be scared out of them. And finally, we're going to make sure that we build in appropriate levels of performance and growth to sustain the portfolio for not only the rest of your life, but for you to leave a great legacy behind to the next generation.
Kyle, I couldn't have said that better. So what we're going to do today is for the first 10 callers, we will put together that full financial plan for you at no cost. And please give us a call. We're happy to help you out with that today. 404-640-5511. That's 404-640-5511. Or you can check us out online at unleashyourmoney.com.
Eric Johnson and Kyle Allyn are investment advisor representatives of Brookstone Wealth Advisors, LLC, a registered investment advisor and affiliate of Brookstone Capital Management, LLC. BWA and Hoffman Financial Group are affiliated under common ownership. Registered investment advisors and investment advisor representatives act as fiduciaries for all of our investment management clients. We have an obligation to act in the best interest of our clients and to make full disclosures of any conflicts of interest. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV 2A, page 4, for additional information. The Hoffman Financial Group and WSB are not affiliated. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. vehicle. This information should not be considered tax or legal advice. Individuals should consult with a professional specializing in the field of tax, legal, accounting, or investments regarding the applicability of this information for their situation. Any client experiences discussed during the show are unique to that client. They are not meant to imply or suggest you will experience the same results. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments will fluctuate, and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Any comments regarding safe and secure products and guaranteed income streams refer only to fixed insurance products. They do not refer in any way to securities or investment advisory products. Fixed insurance and annuity product guarantees are subject to the claims paying ability of the issuing company and are not offered by Brookstone. Index or fixed annuities are not designed for short-term investments and may be subject to caps, restrictions, fees, and surrender charges as described in the annuity contract. Please refer to our firm brochure, the ADV2A Item 4, for additional information. Hoffman Financial Group is not affiliated with or endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency. Insurance licensed in Georgia, number 163546.